See, sometimes I think we think of Jesus as this one-off character on the stage of history who only appeared to be like one of us, right? Secretly, though, from the manger onward, even when he was in those swaddling clothes, he had the secrets of the universe in his mind all figured out because he was, after all, the Son of God. And that is exactly not what our faith requires us to believe. If Jesus were unlike us in that way, he would be too unlike us to redeem us. He had to learn who he was just the same way we do. And then, maybe better, we have to learn who we are just the same way he did. I mean, imagine the awkwardness of all this for Mary and Joseph. I'm thinking they haven't had the talk with him yet. And I don't mean the birds and the bees. I mean the angels and the shepherds and the wise men talk. I'm guessing they never knew whether they were supposed to. And if they had ever started it, how would they finish it, right? And who would even want to have that talk if you were his parents? They must have known sooner or later, though, that somehow they would have to face this day, the way some of you do when you present your child here at the front of the sanctuary to be dedicated, and I tell you in no uncertain terms that this child does not belong to you, that this child is God's. And then I ask you if you are willing to keep this child within what? The precincts of the temple. Where did I get that language, right? So that they may learn the deepest truth of all about themselves, and that is that they are, first and last, children of God. This is hard for all us parents, but it's absolutely crucial. We have to come to learn this bedrock truth about ourselves, without which we will struggle all the days of our lives. You are a child of God, and wherever you live in this world, you are most at home only when you feel yourself at home in the house of God. Now, I love that my mother is in our congregation. Hey, Mom. My dad was too, until his death. They worshiped here with me. And before that, they brought me up in the church. Not this one, but the church. Now, I'm honored to be their son and to have the last name Mason. My family has given me much of my identity. I am named George Mason, after all, after my father and my grandfather, who was a George Mason. What's more, I am the son of a sailor. My father was a ship pilot in New York Harbor, and my grandfather was a docking pilot in New York Harbor. Actually, my great-grandfather was a barge pilot in the harbor. I am not. I could have been, and it might have been expected that I should have been. But my parents made the mistake of taking me to church. So whatever their dreams for me, they kept giving me to the Lord. And what I learned from all of that is what Jesus learned from his parents' faithfulness. I belong to God, and I am most at home in the house of God. And you are too, whether you know it or not. This is indispensable, though, that you learn that it is so. And I will tell you that I know how much pain houses of God have caused some of you over the course of your life. And this is hard for you to hear, but it is also why we have worked so hard in this church over so long to make this a truly inclusive place, so that whoever you are, you can bring your whole self here and know that you are a child of God and you are at home among the people of God. You must know that. See, no matter how great your genetic inheritance, no matter how virtuous your parental upbringing, you will never know yourself rightly until you know yourself as a beloved child of God. And if your nature or nurture was not all that great, then you need to hear this in all caps. You are a child of God. So when Jesus returned to Nazareth, we're told he was obedient to his parents, and his mother pondered these things in her heart. Luke tells us that Jesus increased in wisdom and in years and in divine and human favor. And this language is borrowed precisely from the Old Testament story of Samuel, who was in the temple with the priest Levi, his parents having taken him there. And this is the Bible story Jesus knew, as did his parents. How did they know that? All of them, because his parents took him to church, so to speak. And please hear that, parents. But knowing that we are children of God is not enough. It's what we do about it that matters most, because in the end, who we are is as much about where we are going as where we have been, maybe even more so. We are what we become, and we become what we do. So when the King James translators phrased Jesus' retort to his parents, they put it this way: do you not know that I must be about my Father's business? Now, you heard it differently in our newer translation, but the word translated house can also be translated business, because it literally reads in the Greek, do you not know that I must be in the things of my Father? In other words, Jesus gets that he is his Father's son, and therefore he must be into or about his Father's interests. In the same way, whoever you are and whatever you do with your work in the world, it must proceed from a conscious awareness that you are a child of God. And then your words and deeds, your actions, must reflect the passion and compassion of God, the giving and forgiving of God, the loving of God and your neighbor.